After I preach, people will come to me afterwards and they will say something to me. And so I remember one particular time. This guy comes to me, he's a short fella, he comes to me, he's smiling, he's really enthusiastic about the sermon. He comes to me, he starts speaking, and he doesn't let me get a word in, and he's speaking for about 5 minutes, and he doesn't let me get a word in, and it's hard not to let me get a word in. But he doesn't let me get a word in. And after he had finished, I thought to myself, I don't understand a word this guy has said. So now I have an option. What do I do? Do I smile and nod? Do I fake it until I kind of make it? Do I do that? Do I fake understanding? Or do I ask him? Do I ask that question that no one wants to ask? What did you say? Because there's a risk in that, isn't there? Because if you ask, what did you say, and he repeats it again and you still don't understand, then you're really, really in trouble. And I'd imagine, with the international crowd we've got, that some of us have experienced this. You're trying to piece it together with certain words and understand. And so sometimes you smile and nod, and sometimes you ask, what? And so the crowds and the disciples, they have a decision to make. Jesus has shared this parable. They don't have a clue what he's talking about. They know one word, probably listen. They don't know what he means. So they either smile and nod or they ask questions. The crowd smiles and nods. The disciples ask questions. Verse 10, it says, "And when he was alone, those around him with the 12 asked him about the parables." Mark doesn't record what questions they asked, but they asked him about the parables. What are you saying? These kind of riddles, this kind of code language, what are you talking about? And so they asked him questions. Mark doesn't record the specific questions, but we can guess the questions that they asked because of the answers that Jesus gave. The first question that they probably asked is this: why? Why do you speak like this? I don't know if you've noticed this about me, but when I get excited, I tend to get louder. I tend to shout louder. You know, most people would say, this guy doesn't need a microphone. I probably don't. But just for the people behind the camera, they might need it. But sometimes when I get home, here's what I do. I speak louder when I get excited. You know, it was good that I married a Brazilian. It fits. So I speak louder when I get excited. And then often I get asked the question, well, why are you speaking so loud? And when people change the way they say things, you ask the question, why? And so when Jesus changes the way he says things and speaks in parables, the disciples ask, why? Jesus gives the answer in verse 11. And he said to them, "To you has been given the secret of the kingdom of God. But for those outside, everything is in parables, so that they may indeed see but not perceive, and may indeed hear but not understand, lest they should turn and be forgiven." What Jesus is saying is this: I speak in parables. Here's why. I speak in parables in order to reveal the truth to some people and hide the truth from other people. I speak the parables in order to bring some people into the light and keep some people in the dark. In this way, to those who have ears to hear, to those who want to understand, Jesus is more than willing and ready to explain the parables to them. But to those who don't want to understand, to those who are standing on the shore saying, what was this guy talking about? And walk away, Jesus is happy to leave them in the dark. And so in this way, these parables are riddles to those people. They don't understand, but the disciples, they want to understand. And so they ask the question, why? And Jesus tells them why. But the more important question for us this morning is what? Jesus, what on earth are you talking about? Tell us, explain to us, what do you mean by the sower and the seed and the paths? And really what Jesus is saying is simply this. The sower is the preacher. The seed is the word. And the path is the hearer.